For many years, people believed that search engines were not really a reliable tool when it comes to the research of social sciences. But Harvard economist and ex-Google data scientist stephens-davidowitz believes otherwise. In his book Everybody Lies, he explores how we have this huge collection of data and how we can use this to actually really understand how us humans think. Hey, I'm Patrick, a PhD student at Oxford, and welcome to the Matrix of Thought series, where we discover, discuss, and demonstrate thought-provoking perspectives. So the author Seth, he argues that big data has a unique advantage compared to traditional surveying methods because not many people realize that the data is being collected. So if you propagate this throughout the population, what you end up with is a truly diversified and global data set that is both anonymous and aggregated. For every online search that you commit, you're essentially hiding behind a screen. So, there's no one there to judge you, so what's the incentive to being dishonest with the internet? Through simply being naive, I never really considered what these huge collection of data through the likes of Google, Wikipedia, Facebook, Pornhub have to offer. And so reading the book felt both shiveringly revolting and sanguine at the same time. But as I've come to terms with the deep opportunities that big data science has over traditional surveying methods, I slowly began to understand and appreciate how these sources of data can genuinely tell how we think and about the human psyche. Let's talk about a case study that was mentioned in this book. So a key advantage of big data for corporations are large-scale randomized controlled experiments. On the 27th of February in the year 2000, a couple of engineers at Google, they got together and designed an experiment on their website. What they did was the following. They divided users into two groups. One group, they were shown 20 results on the search engine, and the other group, they were shown the usual 10 results. So what the engineers did was they basically compared how often the users in each group, they went back to the search engine, which by extension just says, how satisfied were they with the search engine website. Randomized controlled experiments are not new. Companies in the past have done this, but critically, they were all offline. But the problem with this one is that they just require so many resources. So you need to arrange the funding, you need to pay the participants, you need to contact schools maybe, and you need to run the tests on individual people at any given point, and many more problems. So you can see that, for each single study, you just rack up a lot of money, time, and effort to just get one outcome from a single study. And sometimes that outcome might even render insignificant. With randomized controlled experiments online, all you need to do is design the experiment, write a bunch of code, and you can analyze the results in real time. And to top this off, most participants don't even know that they are the guinea pigs in the study. So the engineers could measure mouse clicks, click-through rate, click rates, the websites you visited prior to and following the targeted website, how often you return to the targeted website, etc. Randomized controlled experiments were renamed to A/B testing, and this is literally used by corporations across the world all the time. So Google started this digital revolution in February in the year 2000s, and they nowadays do well over 10,000 of these A/B tests every single year, and this number will likely continue increasing. In 2016, researchers from Columbia University and Microsoft Research, they analyzed a very large dataset of search engine queries to identify the people who are suffering from pancreatic cancer. And the idea was the following. If you have just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, you will probably type along the lines of, I have just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, what do I do? Or why did I get pancreatic cancer, etc. And the researchers would then work backwards to identify the queries that he put into the search engine leading up to the day where he found out that he had pancreatic cancer. And the overall question that they want to address was, are there any symptoms that are associated with pancreatic cancer that we currently do not know about? Thanks to the huge collection of anonymized and aggregated nature of the search engine datasets, it was possible to find correlations. For instance, they found that if you have been experiencing indigestion followed by abdominal pain, there was a positive correlation with the people who have been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer later on. Results of this nature could potentially advance our understanding of diseases and cancer and elongate the lives of many people. But it raises an important ethical question. What can a technology company like Google or Microsoft, who have immediate access to all of this information, do to everyday people that make such search queries? Perhaps these people could be given a choice, an opt-in feature where the search engine actively finds correlations between your search queries, so that one day when a correlation is indeed found that is of medical concern, Google could give you a warning and advise you to speak with a medical professional. Of course, privacy concerns are always the same. People may feel uncomfortable to opt into such a feature knowing that their online activity is constantly being monitored so that the search engine could find these correlations. But the sad reality is that your online activity is monitored in one way or another, whether you know it or not. So the question is then, are you willing to sacrifice your privacy so that potentially your life could be saved? On a positive note, there are many actionable things that you can do to protect your privacy, but some of them may be troublesome when it comes to interacting with other people. For instance, you could set up a home server to store all your files without relying on a company like Google. You could use alternative search engines which doesn't use trackers unlike Google, and you can use alternative messaging services which doesn't store all your data unlike WhatsApp, etc. There's so many alternative ways to protect your privacy, but really it begs the question, if it's not changed on a systematic level, is it even worth it? In other words, is it worth protecting me and my family when fundamental changes are required? Because a couple of data points less for a company really does not tip the scale. Google data is way more powerful as a tool to further our understanding of the human psychology. It can provide raw and unique insights and even unpleasant truths into what we think, as we are shielded by internet anonymity. When I was younger, I frequently used the phrase, "there's a little bit of truth behind every just kidding." Not long ago, I would think that sites like Facebook and Instagram on average portray a false reality of a given person's life. Now, after finishing this book, I think it's more appropriate to say what the author says. Never compare your Google searches with everyone else's social media posts. Thanks so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.